Self-timer, it looks like a little timer, allows you to set this, hit the shutter, and run around and get in front of the camera if you want. Great for family photos and Christmas photos. It's also good if you don't have a tripod and you are worried about your camera shake. You could set your camera down on a hard surface and use the self-timer to make sure that your hand is away from the camera when it takes the picture. So that's what a self-timer does. I want to talk a little bit about light, lenses, and how they interact with each other, and how you can take that knowledge and kind of take control over the final image. It takes a little practice, but knowing how it's done is the first step. So on these cameras, we're going to talk about shutter speed and aperture. Now, when you set these settings on the mode dial, with a Nikon it stands for S, and with a Canon it's AV, is shutter speed. This tells your camera, I want to have control over the shutter speed, or in other words, how long the exposure is going to be. Do I want it to be a fast exposure or a slow exposure? And depending on what setting you pick, your camera will pick the appropriate other part of the equation, how wide open the aperture will be in accordance to the amount of light. So they work in synchronicity with each other, but you choose which one you want to set. Now, when you set your mode dial to the S or shutter speed setting, here is where you can either freeze action or show motion. So a longer shutter speed, it lets in more light for low light situations, but it also can show motion. So if you've got a shutter speed, let's say of a 30th of a second, 15th of a second, 1 whole second, 5 seconds, it can show blurriness, which can make motion appear in your image. Shorter shutter speeds, like 1,000th of a second, 500th of a second, can freeze action. You're at the racetrack, it can freeze that speeding car. Me and my dogs, it can freeze my dogs in action. So that is what a short shutter speed can do. You're taking pictures of your kid's karate game, and you want to get that karate chop just as they're kicking. That's what you would want to use, is a fast shutter speed to freeze that in that motion in place. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's my dog in the dog park. This time I actually caught her. I had a slow shutter speed, and what I wanted to do was show the commotion of Buster running through that dog park. So I used the slow shutter speed, and you can now see the action happening around her. Now, a more traditional slow shutter speed shot that I think you can all relate to is the Niagara Falls, with the water gracefully going over the falls. That was done with like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 second shutter speed. That is a slow shutter speed. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, a fast shutter speed, this is my dog Shadow, and she runs so fast. I always want to capture her frozen in action. And here, half the time she's not even touching the ground, she runs so fast. And here I caught her by using a 500th of a second just to capture her in midair. And that's what a fast shutter speed will do, just like your Running Man mode if you have it. So that's what a fast shutter speed can do. And we're not worried about what the background looks like in this instance. We're just trying to show or show motion or not.